Ever feel like you're in complete control of your choices? What if I told you that by the time you think you've made a decision, your brain has already made it for you? That's not science fiction. It's a proven fact. For decades, neuroscientists have been uncovering a startling truth about our minds. What we perceive as a conscious choice, that moment of, aha, I'll have the espresso, is actually the final step in a process that began seconds, or even longer, before we were ever aware of it. Deep within the intricate folds of your brain, a storm of neural activity is constantly brewing. Before you consciously decide to move your hand, specific regions in your brain light up, preparing for the action. It's a silent, hidden process. Your brain knows your next move before you do. This isn't just about simple reflexes like pulling your hand away from a hot stove. This applies to your conscious, deliberate choices too. Imagine a world where your free will is an illusion, a story your brain tells you after the fact. It's a mind-bending concept, but the evidence is compelling. Today we're diving deep into the neural abyss to uncover how your brain is always one step ahead. To understand this, we first need to explore the magnificent machine inside your skull. The human brain is the most complex object in the known universe, containing around 86 billion neurons. Think of it as a super-advanced biological computer. Each neuron is like a tiny switch, connected to thousands of other neurons, forming a network with more potential connections than there are stars in our galaxy. When you see, hear, or feel something, sensory information is converted into electrical signals. These signals race along intricate neural pathways at speeds of over 260 miles per hour. When a signal reaches the end of a neuron, it triggers the release of chemical messengers called neurotransmitters. These chemicals cross a microscopic gap, the synapse, to the next neuron, either exciting it to fire its own signal or inhibiting it. This lightning-fast chain reaction of electrical and chemical signaling is the foundation of every thought, memory, and action you have. Brain imaging technologies like fMRI and EEG have given us an unprecedented window into this process. Functional MRI or fMRI tracks blood flow. When a brain area is active, it uses more oxygen, and fMRI detects the changes in blood oxygen levels. It's like watching a heat map of your brain's activity in real time. EEG, on the other hand, uses electrodes on the scalp to measure the electrical rhythms of the brain directly. It's incredibly fast, capturing brain activity millisecond by millisecond. Using these tools, scientists have discovered something remarkable. They can see a buildup of neural activity, a readiness potential in the motor cortex, the part of the brain that controls movement, up to several seconds before a person is consciously aware of their decision to act. Your brain starts preparing to move your finger long before you think, "I'm going to press the button now." This preconscious activity isn't random noise. It contains information about the specific decision you are about to make. So, who is really in the driver's seat? Let's break down the decision-making process. It feels simple, right? You see options, you weigh them, you choose one. But under the surface, it's a cascade of neural events. Take a simple, everyday choice, picking a coffee. You see a latte and an Americano. Your eyes send visual information to your occipital lobe at the back of your brain. This information then travels to other areas. Your memory centers in the hippocampus might recall the last time you had a latte and how you enjoyed it. Your frontal lobes, the brain's executive suite, weigh variables like your current mood, the time of day, and how much caffeine you need. All this happens unconsciously. Billions of neurons are firing, integrating past experiences, current needs, and future goals. This complex negotiation culminates in a neural vote. The neuronal coalition with the strongest signal wins. This winning signal is what eventually surfaces into your conscious awareness as a deliberate choice. You think, "I'll have the latte," but by the time that thought forms, the battle has already been fought, and won in the silent, dark theater of your unconscious mind. Your conscious awareness is simply being informed of the outcome. Think about typing on a keyboard. Do you consciously think about the location of each key? No, Your fingers seem to fly on their own. That's your brain running on autopilot, executing a complex sequence of movements based on a decision to write a specific word that was made unconsciously. Even your decision to start walking across the street begins with a flurry of pre-conscious neural activity that evaluates traffic, your destination, and your body's readiness to move. Your consciousness just gets the final memo. Okay, it's safe to go. The structure is always the same. Brain activity first, conscious awareness later. Your conscious mind is more like a press secretary, announcing the decisions that have already been made behind closed doors by the presidential cabinet of your brain. The groundbreaking evidence for this idea comes from a series of now famous experiments. The pioneer was Benjamin Libet in the 1980s. He asked participants to watch a clock and decide, at a moment of their own choosing, to flick their wrist. They had to report the exact time on the clock when they first felt the urge to move. All the while, an EEG was recording their brain activity. The results were stunning. Libet found a specific electrical signal, the readiness potential, that started building up in the brain about half a second before. The participant reported feeling the conscious urge to act. The brain was preparing for the movement well before the person was aware of their own intention to move. This was the first concrete scientific evidence that our feeling of conscious will might not be the true starting point of our actions. Libet's experiment was revolutionary, but it also sparked debate. Did it really disprove free will? Critics pointed out that the readiness potential only showed the brain was preparing an action, not that it had irrevocably committed to it. Perhaps consciousness still had the final say, a free won't, the power to veto the urge. Fast forward to the 21st century, and technology got much more advanced. In 2008, neuroscientist John Dylan Haynes took this research to the next level, using fMRI. He let participants decide freely whether to press a button with their left or right hand. The results were even more shocking than Libet's. By analyzing activity patterns in the prefrontal and parietal cortex, Haynes and his team could predict which hand the person would choose with significant accuracy up to 10 seconds before the person was consciously aware of their own decision. 10 seconds. That's an eternity in brain time. It was as if the researchers could peer into the future of the participants' own minds. These experiments have been replicated and refined many times since. They consistently show that the outcomes of our decisions are encoded in brain activity long before we feel like we've made up our minds. It forces us to ask a profound question. If our brain decides before we do, what does that mean for our sense of self, for responsibility, and for the very concept of free will? So what are the takeaways from all this? Is free will just a grand illusion? Well, it's complicated. The science doesn't suggest we're just mindless puppets. Our conscious mind still plays a crucial role. It sets goals, it learns from the past, and it can shape the unconscious processes that lead to future decisions. Think of your conscious mind as a CEO. The CEO doesn't manage every single tiny operation in the company, but they set the overall strategy and direction. Similarly, your consciousness might not initiate every action, but it helps shape the person you are, which in turn influences the unconscious choices your brain makes. Furthermore, these experiments typically involve simple, arbitrary decisions. Choosing to press a button is very different from making a complex moral choice, like whether to tell the truth or to lie. When we make life-altering decisions, like choosing a partner or a career path, our conscious deliberation seems to play a much larger and more significant role. It's an active area of research, and the full picture is still emerging. What this knowledge gives us is a more humble and awe-inspiring view of ourselves. We are not just our conscious thoughts. We are the product of an incredibly complex, largely hidden neural world. Understanding that our brain often knows what's best for us before we do can help us trust our intuition, or our gut feelings, a little more. Those feelings are often the conscious whispers of a vast unconscious computation. This science doesn't diminish us. It enriches our understanding of the human experience. It reveals that we are deeper, more complex, and more mysterious than we ever imagined. The debate about free will is far from over, but one thing is clear. The conversation between our conscious and unconscious self is one of the most fascinating stories in the universe. Your brain decides before you do, but you are your brain. The story of you is written in the silent electrical pulses firing deep within. If you found this exploration of the mind as fascinating as we do, show some support by liking this video. And for more deep dives into the amazing world of science, make sure to subscribe to Just Fact. Thanks for watching.